to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Guided Spirit Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. It's hard to believe we're in the middle of August already, and in 2 weeks will be Labor Day. I hope the summer was great for you. Today, I'm bringing back my dear friend, Beth Lynch, and my soul sister. And Beth is a spiritual medium, intuitive consultant, meditation teacher, and author. For over 28 years, Beth has been helping families connect with spirit to understand grief, heal, and the connection that continues with loved ones who have passed over. She is also passionate about helping people understand their journey and the power of the heart, mind, body, and spirit relationship. Beth is founder of Inner Light Teachings and author of several books on spirituality, meditation, and healing, her latest being Life, Death, and In Between, which is based on what she has learned through her connections with those on the other side and her own personal healing. Beth, welcome back. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me back.
It's always a pleasure. We always have such spirited conversations. I have so much fun.
I like that.
Thank you. So, for those who haven't met you on the show before, let's talk about your journey, the beginning of your journey. Where were you? How you got on your path, and where you are today.
I flashback to childhood, sensitivity, feeling a little overwhelmed, a lot of emotional things, feeling things around people, not understanding it, and then into my teens, suppressing it, and then because I still didn't understand intuition and the understanding of spiritual awareness. My upbringing was Catholic, and it definitely put a beautiful foundation, but I knew there was more. I always felt Buddhist. I didn't understand that, but I do now. And then it was the passing of my dad, and then 3 years later, the passing of my mom, where I actually dreamt the night of her death, like over an intercom, that she had crossed, or she was dead. I heard it more bluntly, and I saw people running back and forth, and I didn't understand. I woke up from the dream. It was 3:15 a.m., very upset, and oddly enough, went back to sleep, and woke up in the morning, and there it was on the news that the Amtrak train had crashed and she was a passenger. And I remembered my dream all of a sudden. I mean, I went like, my dream, oh my God. And that feeling of knowing things and feeling things all rushed back. And needless to say, she was one of the ones that had passed. The accident was around 3:15 a.m., if not right then, her passing. And that all took time to unfold for me to know, but I had a pretty good feeling. That wasn't a coincidence. That was the hour I woke. And then I just, a year later, literally went to a medium. Me and my sister did together. And I needed to get answers. I needed to understand. My faith wasn't holding it up anymore. I was mad at God. Why is this happening? And the medium looked right at me and said, young lady, you're not using your gifts and abilities. Your mother is telling me this from the spirit world, and someday you will do what I do and help many. And I'm thinking in my head, this lady's crazy. And she said she will guide you to your books and teachers. So honestly, from that moment on, I left there. She said so many things that there was no way it wasn't my mother. I mean, we knew my mother was there. And the emotions, but the healing, the true understanding, and the experience of being connected to the spiritual other side, spiritual vibration, I think is now when I look back what triggered all of us. Me, my sister, it triggers anyone, that people I work with when they feel the energy of their child in spirit or their spouse. So anyways, it was quite humbling to go through. A few weeks later, if that, I was drawn to a tarot teacher, Elizabeth, bless you. And I mentored with her. Her first words to me were, "I bet you didn't know tarot was a spiritual tool." And I'm like, "No, I didn't. I was kind of nervous. Maybe I was doing something because I didn't understand it." And she taught me to understand symbolism and colors and incorporate it into the chakra vibrations, and everything was just. Every time I sat with her, it was just something new. And then I discovered our favorite place, Delphi, and that
Yes.
catapulted me into really understanding spirit and healing and mind body and law of attraction, where God fit in, where Buddha fit in. And it just all started falling together. And I got deep into meditation, and it just, my own personal experiences started happening. And there was a day I was a hairdresser. There was a day it came where I had to put down the scissors and literally just surrender and I just started doing readings full time. And that was 28 years ago.
That's quite a story.
Yeah. Sorry you asked. No.
No, not at all. Because here's the thing, I feel that, if I'm asking a question, it's because I feel that there are those on the, who are listening who might be experiencing similar situations. They might be grieving. They might be receiving messages and freaking out because it's like, oh my God, what's this? Or misinterpreting a benevolent being who's trying to help them. It is something fearful and
Mm,
evil, and it's not. And especially when it comes from love, it's never evil, it's never dark. And
never.
so what you're sharing and how your mother worked through this medium, to help you, guide you to the books and the teachers and all the places that you have gone. It almost sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. It's just really important because we want everyone out there to know that everyone has these abilities. Some are more acute than others. They're more out there. Some are like me, which really have to do a lot of healing to be able to attune to their spiritual abilities and get out of their own way. Yeah, I lived in my head forever, and so you know, I, I couldn't hear messages because my mind kept ruminating about the same crap over and over and over again. When I started down my path, I gave my brain, my mind, space and grace to allow for communication and to be able to receive, and more importantly, to be able to trust what I was receiving.
Mm.
So, no, I am not regretful of asking you that question.
And that was so beautiful what you just said, because it's, I think, part of what people go through. And I can't stop thinking, or how I can't trust the signs. And it's a big part of all of our evolution of who we are as a spiritual and a human being, and not to separate the two, which I think is you know
Yes.
one of the biggest issues we have, not understanding it.
Exactly, and everybody likes to compartmentalize so that it doesn't, they think it's cleaner that way. But like you mentioned, the whole mind, body, spirit, and emotional connection all blend together into one, and it's
Mhm.
not separate. We are a blending of all of this, and we're not just a body, we're not just a mind, we're not just an emotion, and we're not just a spiritual being. We are all at the same time, which is pretty talented of us, if I must
We
say.
are an amazing species. We are amazing, and it is heartbreaking to see that so many don't realize how amazing and true their essence is. And well, that's why we do what we do. I'm sure we're both passionate about it, and there are many that are.
Yes, and and look at what happens when we grow up. We have projections thrown on us, whether they're aware of it or not, by our parents, by our authority figures, by our religious figures, because they're projecting their stuff, their deficit, or their beliefs on us, and their beliefs may be tainted. And it's not saying it's bad or good, it's just their beliefs come from where they come from, their environment. And it's sort of like learning a new belief system, because if your life isn't working for you, it means your belief systems are not
Hmm.
working for you, and
Hmm.
you need to change them. I just did a talk at Harvard where we're talking about you have to change your personality. Joe Dispenza says you have to change your personality to be able to change your circumstances. And in essence, I mean, people push back saying, what do you mean? Change your personality. But it's not, if you're gregarious, you're gregarious. Nobody's saying get introverted. But if you think in the negative, changing your personality is stopping the negative thoughts and becoming more positive.
Hmm. And that word, I think, I love to share. So one day I just had this feeling about the word negative, like you got positive, negative, you hear it a lot. Negative is negate of light. Add
Yeah.
light, or add a higher frequency, or add, an intention that lifts. It's negative light. It needs light. It deserves light. Your thoughts to a person sitting next to you that you feel is negative.
All right. So, okay, Beth, you were bringing up about, I call it perceived negativity because what feels negative to me you might say, that's nothing. And what you might be going through, you might feel is all dark for you, but it's not to me. So it's all, of course, in our perceptions. Our
Mhm.
perceptions are our reality. So it brings us to us. But when you have a client who comes to you and they're dealing with negative and limiting belief systems, what would you say would be, let's say, the first three steps that you take with working with your clients to help get them out of that cycle of negative and limiting belief thinking?
Yeah, I think the first thing would be to understand the word negative, and just like I did just share, that could be step number one, because a lot of people are surprised when they look at that word that way, which immediately makes you go, oh, I never thought of that. It's no light in it. It's darkness. When you do readings, or you get your own messages and symbolisms, when you see darkness, for example, or black, if I see black, it's absence of light. So it's expressing itself through a negative vibration, which feels like this. And so I think the understanding of the word, or bringing another perspective of the word, and then I think the next step to me would be to help them see that it's within themselves to change that power. There's been a loss of power in the species, like giving our power away, giving it away, whether we're, give there's so many sub things about giving our power away, but we have to like embrace it, and to believe that a clear intention can start it off. Some people say, well, intentions and mantras, I don't know if they work. Yes, they create that perception that will carry the emotional vibrations that are creating the reality of what the law of attraction is going to do, which was step 3. Know what the law of attraction really is. It's a emotional, it's a magnetic, and it's based, and we're the intelligence running it. So if
Right.
we leave it poof, and we have to be clear. So again, the understanding of the word negative, maybe believing in that, embracing their power, believing they can, and giving meditation to me is the way for that. And then I think the devotion is missing. A lot of people say, I'm trying, or, I can't. And it's not just the 10-minute meditation you do, or 20-minute meditation you do. It's what your inner dialogue. So powerful,
Yes.
and it slows down when you really become aware of it. And people will say, well, I can't stop thinking long enough to meditate. I'm like, well, you don't want to stop thinking. You're all thinking, feeling species. Don't do that.
Right. Exactly.
I gotta laugh a little on that. I used to say it. Hey, I used to say it years ago. So I
Well,
get
because that's what we're taught. We're taught meditation is to quiet the mind, to still the mind, to not think, to have it blank. But what I learned at Delphi, which I love, is the fact that no, you can have, that's what guided meditation is about. And it allows your mind to follow the voice, the guidance of another through this meditation, but you still have the space and grace to receive messages, receive information and guidance. You don't have to be what they used to teach back in the 70s or the 60s with transcendental meditation, where you just don't move, and if you itch, you can't scratch, and you just can't
yeah.
think. And it's almost beyond being human to be able to accomplish that. But that's also their goal, I think,
Mm-hmm. To
is to,
yeah, yeah. I love how you say space and grace. That's so awesome. I feel when you say that, it's like, just feels it. You feel it. So I'm sure the
thank,
audience feels it too.
thank you. Let's go into, because what you do helps so many with their grieving, with their healing. let's talk about how spirituality helps with grief and those looking for insight into their grief process.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What are your thoughts about helping people with grief?
Mm-hmm.
How do you address it? How do you
Well, and
bring it
most
to
people
them?
do come to me for grief, and grief is obviously loss, and most of the time it is through a death. But divorce is grief. Some for some people, their own retirement is a big grief period for them. They're grieving something they did for so long, they loved, it was who they were, and now what do I do? So there's so much grief. What do I do? And when you make a connection, understanding the spirit, I think, is a very important part of it. Because what is the spirit? Who are we talking to? We're talking to the spirit of our loved ones, or the spirit of ourself. What is the spirit? And I really love something that I just feel from my being, that this is the best explanation that I share for people is, what is the spirit? Well, we know frequency, right? So spirit is the highest frequency we can express in as a human being. And so when we understand what our spirit really is, it's an essence, or part of it is consciousness, then guess what happens? We have to understand what the actual spirit, the aspect of that consciousness does for us. This is where the frequencies are higher. This is where the spirit is, your intuition flows through, for example. So your intuition is a quality of the spirit. Intuition is not just talking to spirit world. And intuition is a survival mechanism for us. We feel
Yes.
the direction, we feel not a direction, whether, I don't care any decision you got to make, your spirit will guide you if you allow for that space and grace. I'll use your.
Yes.
And so the spirit is the intuitive nature. It is the creative nature. Our creative nature is how we're going to uh, express ourselves, create abundance, to keep roofs over our head, food in our fridges. I mean, we have to survive here, and we should be doing it through creative expression, whatever it is. And then it's compassion beyond the human potential. This is all beyond human potential. To be compassionate beyond the human potential, is something our species is really struggling with, toward yourself first, and then it would, go out to others. It's also that connection to, well, it's our coping skills. Our coping skills are in our spiritual energy, because the personality, with the ego and the fear based and the false perceptions, or perceptions not serving,
I like
get
that.
in the way. They get in the, it blocks us from happiness, if nothing else. And then there's also that connection to the eternal life, which, when we're talking to spirit, their frequency, and when we get into their presence, it's just so, for some people, it's the first time they felt a sense of peace, or they felt, their child's spirit, or their spouse's spirit, or whoever the title is. Some people, grandparents, were more like parents, so there's really no title, you know. And
Right.
but when you see this, and you see the presence, when we meditate and bless, or when I meditate and bless the session, and we're going up in frequency, and they're coming down a few frequencies for us. This is what they've taught me. And so that is where the communication in that space takes place. And I'm just the telephone operator, I call it. I'm the
Yeah.
operator, the mediator, whatever.
You're the
And
vessel.
the person is getting the frequency, or experiencing it. And people have different faiths. I've had, I just use, for example, Christian, Christian people who are Christians, who would be against this, would come in to me a lot of times when they have lost children, because their faith isn't holding up,
Right.
too hard. And it's not for every person of that faith, but a lot of them, they'll come out and tell me, well, I don't know, I don't believe in this, and I'm afraid of this, but I don't know why God would take my child, and then there it goes, and in comes the messages, and it's a beautiful healing, very humbling.
So, how do you take someone who's full of fear, who's full of skepticism, and keep them
Mhm.
open enough to be able to connect, like, because I look at it as you're connecting with their ancestors, you're the liaison. Here's one and here's the other, my right hand, my left hand, and you're the one in the middle who orchestrates the communication. And if somebody comes in but they're afraid or resistant, how do you work with that?
The whole, really, the blessing or the meditation, preparing for my day is simple. Just making sure I do a meditation for myself, because doing it for others isn't counting, is my space and grace. God, I like that. And
Thank you.
and so when I do that, first of all, there's something bigger going on when someone even sets the appointment up or reaches out for a question about it or something. You know what I mean? And is interested. Something's going on from their spirit loved ones, or you know, whatever if they're really, most people do come for spirit communication, but there's people that come for meditation and intuitive insights and stuff too. And it's always a part of it. And so that blessing and meditation, I think, really is what prepares them as well as me. And I explain that this little blessing is about preparing you and to open. And there's sometimes people just sitting there with tears coming down. And I say, it's okay. How come I'm crying? It's okay. You're releasing your emotions, your frequencies going up. That's emotional, but that's you feeling the spirit around them and connecting to your own in that moment. And that's preparation is, to me, so, I mean, sacredly simple. It happens every time,
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. I think I had one time when someone ran out of a room, and that was during a meditation. And her frequency just couldn't, she ran out, and I went after her because it was a meditation group. So I kind of like went out and wanted to make sure she was okay. She goes, I'm having anxiety. And I explained to her, well, when your frequency goes up that fast, that's what anxiety is, really, according to the spirit world. We got it all wrong down here. It's actually the body going into a healing mechanism, going up in frequency. And we can't always time those moments. So that's why, meditation is so helpful. Because you always are giving yourself a time for that during the day, or appreciating nature. I mean, there's so many simple ways we already do it. But yeah, that preparation really comes down to, I think, the blessing. And once spirit starts and it's immediate, the
Yeah.
energy just takes on a life of its own. I mean, I feel so blessed to be able to say that, honestly.
And there's something, I feel something liberating by saying it like that. There's a
Mhm.
liberation about it because it just sort of takes it on
Yeah,
and
and
it
skeptics
flows.
are funny. Skeptics, I love it because when you might be doing a group and you got the one person sitting there and they're protecting
Closed
the dark
off and
energy. Yeah, you can feel it. You can always feel it. And it's like I said, that my blessing prepares me for that energy. Nobody's coming to see me because they're happy, and they're not. They're always, they're coming
and their
because
life is going well. Their life is
yeah,
perfect.
they're not coming. So there isn't anybody I sit in front of that really already isn't going to give, I'm not going to get that feel, but it's okay. But I swear the spirit world will get those skeptics right out of the gate and get that, where they're that, oh, how does she know that? And it's like they laugh, and then it's like, we told you. I see it all the time in
Yeah.
groups. It's kind of funny. And it's like they just glow. They come out of this, the egg cracks.
It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing.
Oh, they
So
don't
how
bother me. They don't bother me.
they don't bother me either. The only
Over
ones
the head,
that I,
Spirit. Let's get this out of the elephant out of the room right
the
away.
the only one for me is if you're closed off. I mean, if you're totally not skeptical but totally closed-minded about it, save your time. Save my
Mm-hmm.
time. Save your money
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to work that hard
I
to
think
open
there's
you
been
up.
two times in my work in 28 years, and that's doing it full time, where I actually said, I will not, well, I've worked with a lot of families where I won't accept money for a session. It was just so emotional, and it's always loss of children. But there were only two times where I really said, look, I don't think I can help you. And they were, I just really felt it from I don't want to be rude, but I feel we should just stop. I mean, after 20 minutes, if you're still wanting me to prove it, I'm so
Right.
past proving this
Right.
point. I shouldn't have to prove it. I understand validation and need to feel, but it's not about proving. I couldn't handle that stress as a medium. I wouldn't want to do that every single day with, with the people I work with. If I had, some people have said that, well, what if nobody comes in? I go, look, if that, I had to think about that every session, I wouldn't be doing this work. That's just too much. You don't have to worry.
Right.
when you come from that space of genuine, like, when you receive, you feel
You
this.
you do. And you also then will feel relief or joy or some emotion that you weren't feeling going into your session, which leads me to ask you, how does spirituality help people with anxiety and depression and addiction?
Well, again, it's the under that little definition I gave you, how it is your intuitive nature, your creative nature, your compassionate nature, your coping skills, and your connection to something timeless, eternal, infinite, and oneness that we all are. So if we're absent of those qualities, that's right there throwing many people into anxiety, not trusting their intuition, even having that inner confidence, that where their inner dialogue is it boosting you, is it knocking you down, what is your inner dialogue doing? That's anxious energy,
Right.
and because you're dropping your frequency so low that it has to take an opportunity to come up. That's anxiety, spirit world's definition. Depression, according to the spirit world, is depressed thoughts that are now so dominant that the subconscious got it right there. We don't even 80. What do they say? Dr. Dyer, 85% of our subconscious is our manifestation. Whoa, you're not even thinking some of those depressed, down, deep thoughts, but they're still running the
Yeah,
show.
the program's running.
Then and that's the law of attraction. Everything's coming at you, and that's all you can see in that frequency or perspective, or, you know, thank you, Mr. Tesla, for your quote. It really takes the secret out. So, when you understand the spirit and these qualities are absent in someone's personality and expression and perception of their life, their day, their future, well, who wouldn't be? So when you add those, when they learn to accept those qualities or that perspective, like, when you're sitting and you something just makes you go, oh my, like Space and Grace did to me,
Yes.
it's like, oh gosh, that's good, Marla. And it's exciting. It feels good. Well, when they get that bell goes off for them, for something they never looked at, wow, what happens in a room is just amazing.
I like that. Has anybody ever come to you and asked you about a missing person? Have you been able to, do
I
you help
have,
people with that?
yeah, I have done it a couple times. It's usually someone, who has a relative, and then they reach out privately, and I just do it. I give them what I see. And there's been a couple, actually, there's been a couple high profile ones that I actually was behind the scenes in, but, I was behind the scenes and told the family. And yeah, they were there or they were found there or something, but, I've never put that out there. Um, yeah, I've been asked, and I don't mind helping people with that. I'll give what I can give if it makes sense and goes with what what maybe they've already found, or
Hmm, perfect. Well, that's a question I've never asked you because um, there are people out there who have missing loved ones and
yeah.
they're
And if
trying
they're in
to.
spirit, it's kind of bittersweet, because if I start getting that information and they're like checking the boxes and they know that's them, I'm getting it because they're there.
Okay.
So it's a bittersweet validation, but sometimes that's the piece. But then if you see an area and you give the information and they do find them there, that can be very helpful to the family.
And
Obviously.
well, and the thing is the family needs closure. If you can't find the body, there's still that that
Yeah.
uncertainty of, I need to put them to rest
Mm-hmm.
and give them a proper place for
Mm-hmm.
their eternity, even though as you and I both know, our bodies are going to disintegrate back into dust, go back
Mm-hmm.
into the earth, because our spirit is still going strong on the other
Yeah.
side of
Still
that
going
veil.
strong over there, my lord. Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
And
So, what were you going to say?
well, and then thinking it kind of based on that question you just asked, when you understand your spirit, it's like almost exciting. It's an excitement to feel that part of yourself. And a lot of people dealing with, mental and emotional health and illness are absent of that. It's not like they're trying to be, and it can be trauma, and it can be childhood trauma, and it could be PTSD, so it's not to diminish that, but those are still frequencies. Those are emotions resonating in a shock that the broken record is not moving. And when we look at that, it like gives us that, oh, I can move the needle. Let me move the needle. It's always going to begin in the heart chakra, perception, and then heart chakra.
I love that. I absolutely do. You have your book, Life, Death, and In Between. Let's talk about that for a minute. Because where do you find this book, number one?
Oh, it's on Amazon. It is on
Okay.
Amazon. It's on my website, innerlightteaching.com, and it's on there. It's all, yeah, but you can find it on, and I'm just finished recording for Audible. So we're
Very
actually getting
exciting.
ready to download it. Yeah, went to a studio near here, and we were having some problems. They were saying I couldn't claim the title, and he goes, "You're the author." Yeah, I go. So he's helping me. Like, come on, Audible, it's my book.
Right.
Because it's all ready to download and be go. But they're so we actually got to deal with that when I get off this. Oh, the physical world red tape.
I know it just gives us, but here's the thing: there's always a lesson, opportunity, or gift in any situation. So when you look for that pearl in the situation, you will find it as to
Mhm.
why Audible's doing this. I don't think it's just to give you a hard time.
Yeah.
So you said that the book was about, it's based on your learning through your connections on the other side, and
Yeah.
you're from your healing. So is there one or a group of specific guides on the other side that have been feeding you the information that helps you with your book, or are they ancestors who you have
Mhm.
these connections? Who do you tap into for the information to help you with the book?
Well, the book was really about the experiences that I've had in sessions, in my own personal healing. The story of the accident and the dream, and then other things. And when I looked at so really everything in there is things I've experienced or shared with others, and where it brought, how it brought me to this understanding and how it's helped them. So that's really what the book is. And it was funny because Life, Death, and In Between was actually a subtitle at one time. And when I was doing some podcasts, and it was before the book was finished, and they were asking me about it. And every time I said the title, they went, "Oh, Life, Death, and In Between." So it became like, well, geez, maybe they're telling me I'm supposed to name the book, title that. So, because it is through death and grief that I learned more about life and all that was in between. So that's where it kind of flows.
It's like Patricia's book. Have you read the definitive book of the afterlife?
Yes, I have not read the whole thing, and I have it actually sitting in my bookcase right there. And so I pick it up and read it from time to time and go, oh my God, I love this. You know?
It's so fascinating how Marshall on the other side of the veil and Patricia
Mhm.
Hayes, the founder, worked together to put this book, and it's a unique, in my opinion, it's a unique perspective,
Mhm.
to their perspective on life on the other side of the veil, and
Mhm.
how you can plan for your death and how you can plan to meet up with loved ones. But that's why I asked the question I did, because I wanted to know, do you have somebody on the other side or many that are feeding you this information? So,
I think there's a lot of them, and I laugh sometimes when I think about when I cross over. Um,
oh, it's going to
some
be
of
a
the ones that
party.
I, been so touched by are going to maybe be there, or already met my parents maybe and said, well, I know your daughter, she talked to my wife for me or something like, I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting, and that's what they say, that it's constantly a meet and greet. And,
Yeah.
I was channeling a young person the other day, and he showed me a guitar and told me to tell the girl that I was channeling for, tell him something about Kurt Cobain, and that he's really cool. And she ended up telling me that he was like, that was his person, how he followed the way the guitar and the singing, and it touched him. And this person dealt with a lot of depression on earth. But the way that he just said, yeah, I just met him and sat and played guitar with him. And she goes, that was one of his biggest dreams, was to be able to maybe see Nirvana and play with Nirvana, like a dream that he'd never probably fulfill here. He could see them. And he did it. And it was funny the way he just said it. And he showed me sitting there, like seeing, I was like, wow. And she got so touched because she always felt she knew how he felt about that relationship in his own music, but in heart. So it was pretty interesting to see.
I think that's phenomenal. It's close to charity shout out time, so let's do charity shout out, and then we're going to get back into more questions. Yours is Safe Space Florida. What is Safe Space Florida?
It's basically a space or an I believe shelter for women leaving domestic situations, and I know they do support them. And it's in my community, and I see a lot of women, even in my work, reaching out for guidance, how to start over. They've been put in leaving a relationship. Some I've met some in these sessions that were hiding still, and I think that always touches me because they always have the children, you know
Yes.
and that touched me. So when I was asked what charity, still kind of new in the area, about a year, but that just came to me. It was like, women need help. And now with
Yes.
all that's going on with rent going up, there are many people just in the local area, Facebook pages that I've seen. Look, they're getting kicked out of apartments because it's tripled, doubled, or whatever. And they have children and they have nowhere to go.
Which is so
And
hard.
these centers are getting filled.
Overwhelmed.
So, yeah, so thank you. I just that it wasn't even a thought. It was just that's where it's got to go.
So please check out safespacefl.org and see how you can help, because if it's not financially, you can help with donating clothes or food. Anything in a shelter is toiletries are all
Hmm.
needed. So, you know, see what you can do, because everybody's being challenged, but some are more challenged than others. And if you're not as challenged as somebody else, you're highly abundant and
Mm.
you've got the ability to share your abundance with another. So, and help them get on their feet. Thank you for that, Beth. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, all right. Now we're getting some more meaty, good stuff. Um, let's talk about people connecting to their intuition, to their guide, to help them to become happier, healthier, and abundant in their life. How do, how does one connect with their guide, their intuitive guide, their guardian
It
angel?
all comes. I really believe it comes down with. I don't know what would come first, intention or meditation. But breaking down the word meditation, sometimes it's like I can't. It's a very natural thing to hear. Meditation is mediating between what you think and how you respond emotionally. When you sit to mediate, you're taking your thoughts, like you said, you're letting them come by. You slow your breathing. Just practicing that a few minutes a day can really start to change your perspective, but also raising your frequency. You're automatically opening up your intuitive channels. And the breath is a big part of that. You
Yeah,
know, I
it
tell
is.
people take mindful moments. If it's someone dealing with anxiety and things like that, and real low frequency thinking, um, every 15 minutes. I don't know. These iPhones set timers for all kinds of things. I'm an Android girl, so it tells you. But I know people do it. Looking at their, I got to do this, and I just haven't gotten there yet. But do what I call a breath check. Just slow the breath. You have to stop what you're doing. Slow your breath. Just exhale like you're blowing out a candle. Inhale. It sends within 30 seconds a signal right into that nervous system. Dr. Joe is great for all the medical science proof on that.
Yeah.
I know it works because I do it. I've worked with many people who've taken that and used it, and oh my God, just a few minutes a day. I can't believe the difference. Yeah. Falling asleep to meditation. So you're not sitting there letting everything run on overdrive. You actually go to sleep in a higher frequency. Helps your intuitive channels open up. It's raising the frequency to hit where the intuition is strong and it downloads to you.
I love that. And I wish my husband, he's such a princess in the pea. He like everything sort of like disrupts his sleep. So so
Oh,
if
I
I
know.
have music going on, it's like, turn that off. I need
Yeah. But does he
quiet.
fall asleep okay?
No.
You should listen. I'll send you one. I'll send one of mine. You know what? All right. Let me tell you this. If I could. All right. So I
Sure.
don't know now, 15 years ago, maybe. It's been a long time. My husband would go to sleep fine, and then he'd wake up and it was very disrupt. It's hard when people don't get sleep. It affects a
Right.
lot of things. So this one week I decided, I said, I'm going to go in and hit my meditation CD on real low once he falls asleep. And I did it for the week. And I actually would go in after he fell asleep, because he always fell asleep, turn on the CD low enough that he didn't hear it and go, what's that? Just let the frequency of the guided meditation be there. And I hit it on replay, because when I came in, because he always went to sleep before me back then, and I would come in and I'd want to hear it, so I'd come in maybe an hour later. I think I always watched Touched by an Angel at 11, and then I would go in the room after that. And that show. And
Great show.
the end of that week, he said, I'll never forget, he goes, God, strangest thing this week. I go, what? And he goes, I have never slept better in my life than I have this. Now, here's me. Now, I kind of like wasn't thinking that's where he was going with it, with that statement. But when he said it, I went, oh, follow me. And, into the bedroom we went. And I showed him exactly what I'd been doing. To this day, he meditates every night when he goes to sleep. He ain't going to do it in the daytime. But
Right.
I'm not kidding you. It's consistent.
I
I
love
mean,
it. I'm going to try that.
yeah. I mean, you just put it on low enough. In my little Donald's Journey meditation for kids, I have more people say, I don't know what's in that, but it knocks my baby out every night. Yeah, that's
Oh,
on my website. It's just a very guided. And what's her name? Delphi told me I was going to write a book for children based on chakras, and it is an audio book, meditation, and a book. Janice.
ah,
I did a reading with her at Delphi, and she said, you're going to write a children's book someday based on the chakras, but you're not going to use that word. And I didn't use that word because I was scared. Back then, when I first wrote this,
right.
probably in 2001, because my son I was 3 months pregnant when I went through the experience of a little child in a tree and had it recorded. And yeah, it's out there. And it helps many
Oh,
baby kids from conception to like 10 or 12. You can do it.
nice. Nice. I'm a new Gigi, so
Oh, I'll
maybe I
send you the
will.
link. I'll send you the link.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, little Palmer is getting very active she's not quite 6 months, but she will be on Friday. Tomorrow, she'll be 6 months.
Oh,
So,
please play Donald. Bedtime's a good time, but anytime. And it helps who's ever listening, who's ever in the radius.
which is, we can all use it, right? It's
Oh, God.
all so helpful. Um, well, okay, I'm trying to, meditation. Let's go more into meditation. Um, I mean, I know we've talked about how powerful it is raising, and you and I both know it is. But again, somebody who is skeptical or resistant, above and beyond sort of doing what you did to your husband, what other suggestions do you have to get people to get on the meditation path?
Mhm. I think the one of the simplest ones is telling them about them, like doing those mindful moments or breath breaks. I call them little breath moments, where you just slow it down a little. And I always, I mean, those things are just so simple. You don't even have to really, or go outside and put your feet in the grass or your feet in the sand, or, your snowshoes on. Connect to nature
Do you
is
suggest the counting?
meditative. Hmm?
To the counting when you're doing this? Like breathe in for 4, hold for 2, breathe out
No,
for
I
8,
am
kind of thing.
so not able to count, and my mind just gets mad and doesn't want to do that. So I just really get a rhythm, but I know that there are people that counting helps. Like breathe in 4 to 6, exhale 6 to 8 is a nice number because you lengthen that exhale. But really using that exhale like you're blowing out a candle, because that really engages you.
So
And you can
you're doing
feel right to your
oral,
lower belly.
taking your breath out orally. That's
Yeah,
your way of doing it. Because there's some
yeah.
people who go breathe in, hold, breathe out through your nose, and then there are people that are, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then of course there's the yogic breathing, which is
Mhm.
I find so powerful. Where you breathe in from one nostril and out the next, and then you breathe in the one you just exhaled, and breathe out the other
Mhm.
one, and
Yeah,
you keep
I get so
alternating
caught up
that way.
on trying doing it, I get confused. I
That
think I'm
is really
tired.
relaxing.
But some
That's
people can
phenomenal.
really yeah, a lot of people respond to that. That's an amazing thing. And the belly breathing, just going to that lower belly. I tell her, put your hands on your lower belly, or just be aware of it and give it permission to relax. You'd be surprised how much, even people listening now, just do that. Be aware of how tight your belly might be. That's our emotional chakra.
Yeah.
Our life force energy has to flow, and we congest there.
Yeah. Because most people are shallow breathers, especially when they're under stress. They only hit the top, they don't even hit the diaphragm. They just sort of hit the top of the lobes, the lung lobes, and they
So
breathe
true.
out.
When I first started learning about breath awareness, which was all probably early 90s or mid 90s, I remember going, I have not been breathing for 33 years. I mean, what have I been doing? When I really began, and it doesn't take long, a couple of weeks, you really, if not a couple of days, you really begin to feel the difference. And it's
Yes.
simple. We're breathing anyway. Just like with thoughts, you're thinking anyway. Believe you have the freedom to think the thoughts that you really, you know, will make you happier. You know, keep it simple. Why everybody wants to be happier.
They do. And then they go, but it keeps, no, 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 it doesn't work for me. But if they can,
Ugh.
you have to do this. Sometimes you just have to, what they call it, fake it till you make it. You're not really faking anything. It's just, you're just forcing yourself to just stay on track for a period of time so that you can, develop the habit. Because what? It takes 30 days to develop the habit.
Right. There was that whole, yes, and it's amazing. You can still feel, I think, sooner than that, but to stay in it and stay committed, you do need to really commit to that. I don't know. I'm thinking of Dr. Joe again, Dr. Joe Dispenza. His book, Breaking the Habit of Being You,
Yourself,
really a
yeah.
great book. I know it's helped a lot of people. I'm just giving it a shout out. I guess it's coming to my mind because he really does explain. Some people really need the science behind this. I never did. I never needed the proof. I felt things, but I was never really in my head. That wasn't where I. I was always one of those.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm
I
more
don't know why
grounded,
I
so I
see you as
get
being,
it.
I mean, you're a free spirit. That's how I look at you.
Oh,
And when
thank
you were younger, that you're just this flowy, free spirit who and not
you.
that you didn't feel and you didn't experience the same crap the rest of us did.
Oh yeah, you do. We're none of
You
us are
do.
exempt, even with what we know. We're practicing what we're sharing here today to help others. I don't. I look at what I've experienced with, death and grief myself, and go, children have a right to know. They deserve to know how to handle those emotions. Children lose friends more so, I think, now than ever, or at least
Oh,
because we do know it's social media, it's the way we interact. We know more now. Sure, it was always happening, but death isn't going away.
how do you work with a child that might be grieving? Do parents bring children in to help
I've
them
had
with
them as young
grieving?
as 8. I've had a young boy who lost his dad, and his mom was in jail. So the grandmother had custody. I've seen more than one of those scenarios, many actually. But this one, the father was in spirit, and she brought him when he was 8. She had started coming to me, I think, when he was like 4, and for her own healing, because it was her son. And at 8 years old, she brought him, and he knew where he was coming. That I could talk to angels, and this father in spirit, I'll never forget this little 8-year-old boy just looking at me like he had no, he didn't. He just knew what he felt, and he was starting to get angry, and that's why the grandmother felt she should bring him. And the father was amazing. He told him things that were under his bed. He said, now, made little things that, you got the flashlight under the covers, and he went, Grandma, I'm sorry. It's just sometimes when I'm afraid. And, but then he was like, how's my daddy know that? And I go, because he's with you, with the flashlight under the covers. And that made him, so that the energy kind of took a life of its own on when I've had those kind of things, that they spoke in a way that the child would be comforted, not confused. That's powerful.
It's really powerful. And I really believe more people need to allow their child or grandchild or niece or nephew to have exposure because it helps them heal. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole purpose of mediumship. It's not to just say, "Hey, how you doing? Are you with me, or do you see this, or I'm sorry for what I did, or are you sorry for what you did? But there's a process of healing that I don't know if people really understand, that that's a medium's job, is to help them with that process. Can you
Absolutely.
elaborate more on that for the listeners?
Sure. I mean, that whole experience itself, you go into alignment with their energy. And I know sometimes those terms, their spirit. Um, and when you get into that frequency, it, like I said, it supports you. It really supports you and allows you to align to it. And that's, a little bit of the science, I think, behind it. But there's no way when you're in that energy with them that you won't heal. It just happens. It doesn't mean it's like, oh, I'm okay now,
Right.
but it happens. It's a natural, I think, alignment. And we all have that within ourselves. And when we don't, that's when you're seeing a lot of depression
Right.
and you're depressed.
And don't you believe, like you said, it doesn't happen overnight, but the fact that somebody walks away saying, there's somebody who can talk to my mommy, my daddy, my grandparent, whomever, on my lover, my boyfriend, my husband on the other side, I feel the healing comes with knowing that they're really not far and that they can get the person on the other side to leave them messages, to let them know they're there, to support them, that they could talk to the person like you and I are talking right now, and they're going to be heard.
And that's important. And that's why saying something as simple as the flashlight, or the little simple things I see a lot of times are just, they're never telling you anything you don't know. They're telling you what you know, what's in front of you that I can't see on the table. Or chocolate chip cookies not long ago, they were having a hard time. It was a very deep, a very intense passing. And, it was taking a moment. And then I said, wait, your mom is saying something about the chocolate chip cookies. And they, why would she say that? And I'm, well, you can ask her when you get there, but don't worry. It's going to be a while. So we're going to get to this now. I said, no, I don't know. Did you make them last night? Are they in front of you? And they go, yeah, there's like a plate of them right here. Well, because she's with you. She's not with me in my little corner here working. So I said, that's something as simple as chocolate chip cookies. It just makes, and people still question it, but that's grief. But once I pointed, it clicked. It was like, oh my God. And then they're like, see, we got him right there. I believe you. And it made them laugh. And then when they
Yeah,
laugh, guess what happens?
the
Frequency goes up.
frequency raises.
And
They
you
feel
feel them.
better.
They want you to feel them directly. That's my job. That you leave knowing they're with you. You don't need me. I think that's the greatest gift I give anybody.
I think that is that has got to be one of the top three best gifts somebody could have, is knowing that somebody is with you from the other side, and who wants for your highest and best good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we're getting close to the end of the show, and so, as I always do, what have I not brought up that you really want to talk about for the listeners to hear and know about your services or a story?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in a way we've tapped it, but just understanding the power of their spirit. It is within the love that they administer to themselves or be a minister of for themselves. To believe in that power of self love is a devotion, and it is a conscious act. And I think it starts to change a lot of things. And yeah, I mean, all my services are about really helping people understand their inner light teachings, and understanding how to get to that light, whether it be through a channeling or meditation or intuitive counsel session. And, you know, I do things all the time on my website. You can see I do September 22nd. I have a free event coming up. First Spirit Speaks. Are we listening? I
Oh,
love
I
it.
like that.
Yeah,
What is
are
that
you listening?
about?
Spirit Speaks. Are you listening? And that's my channeling galleries, and there's virtual ones. But September 22nd is the anniversary of my mom's passing. I believe this year it's 29 years, and so I always do an event. But I am going to start this year making them a gift. No more will I, charge for the September 22nd event. So hope everybody tunes in. You just got to reach out and say, "Want to join the event?"
So
You'll get
go to
paid.
inner Oh my God. Thank
Innerlightteaching.com.
you. I'm
Oh, that's
sorry.
fine.
I'm trying to
Inner,
find it and try it because I don't want to mess it up. Innerlightteaching.com. Please go check out Beth, what she can do, how she can work with you. And the great thing is thanks to platforms like this, you can be in the comfort of your own home or office and be able to have the most incredible experience with Miss Beth Lynch.
oh, thank you.
So
Thank you for having me again. Love you.
always, thank you, love you too. I want to thank Bridget. I always thank Bridget because she is my right hand, my left hand. I'm so grateful for you each and every day and all you do for me. Thank you so much. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day, out of your life to be a part of this show because the show was created for you to bring the most amazing people, such as Beth Lynch, to you to talk about what they do and how they can help you and how they can work with you, and giving you a tip, tool, technique to help you on your journey, whether you're starting or in the middle or have been doing it for a long time. There's just not enough information. You, there's never ending information, is what I'm trying to say. So, thank you for tuning in. Check out my website at Marla Goldberg, and Goldberg has 2Rs.com. See how I can work with you. I am going to be out of the loop for the next 2 weeks. I will be back here on September 8th, I believe. And I'm looking forward, yes, September 8th, I'm looking forward to another phenomenal show. As I leave you, as always, I send you love, blessings, and gratitude. I'm so grateful that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it, because not only are you my student, you are my teacher. And not only am I your teacher, I am your student. And so is everybody who crosses your path. You teach and you learn from each other, and that's what we're here for. So, gratitude to you. And if you haven't heard these words today, let me say them to you. And if you have heard them, I'm going to say them anyway. I love you. You are loved and you are never alone. You have so many beings on the other side, as well as the beings in your life in the physical, that are rooting and are there to work on your behalf. But ask for what you need. Ask them for your help, your support, guidance, whatever it is you need. Ask and they will conspire on your behalf. So as I leave you with that thought. And until the next time, take care, stay well, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.